Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing 22 Dollar Tree Valentine's Day DIYs. And you will notice that each craft is going to have a number in the bottom left-hand corner. That way, if you see any crafts that you really like, you can just jot down the number and then always reference the video back. I will also have a full list of the crafts listed in the video description box. Be sure to bookmark this video so it's always really easy to find. And if you are new here, I would love to have you join us by subscribing down below. And don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you find out as soon as I release a new video. So let's jump right into the first DIY. And for this one, you're going to need one of these foam cones from Dollar Tree, and you can find this one usually in the crafter square or the floral department. And then the next thing you're going to need is some of this cotton nautical rope. And for this size cone here, you're going to want to get the 11-foot rope. They have a few different sizes, but this size is going to work perfectly for this cone. So to get started, you just want to go ahead and take off that plastic wrapping on our foam cone here. And then I'm going to take off the little end pieces of the rope. So they're just taped closed, and you don't want to cut it off because you want as much rope as possible just to make sure you can cover the entire cone. So I'm going to be starting at the base here, and I'm just going to be hot gluing my rope to that base. And you won't need to hot glue the entire rope all the way up. You do want to hot glue the first 2 or 3 rows though, just to give it a nice solid base, and then you'll be able to wrap the rest of the rope up to the top and then only hot glue when you get all the way to finish it off right at the top of the cone. And when you're hot gluing this bottom portion, it might be helpful to work on a piece of parchment paper because the hot glue is not going to stick to it and it will just keep your work area nice and neat. So after I hot glued those first 3 rope lines, now I'm just going to go ahead and wrap the rope all the way to the top. Now I am wrapping it to make sure I'm covering up all of the cone, but I'm not doing it too tight because I did want to make sure I would get enough rope, and I ended up doing this project 2 times and it worked both times with no issue whatsoever. I definitely had enough rope to cover the entire cone. So now I'm going to take this small decorative rope, and this one is also from Dollar Tree in the crafter square, and I'm just going to use this thin twine just to kind of go in between the rope strands, and this is just going to act as a garland, and this one is just pink and white, but you can definitely get red and white as well. They have a few different colors at Dollar Tree. Now to add some embellishments, I'm going to be taking these wood DIY stickers, and I'm also going to be using some of the pearls from Dollar Tree, and these can be found in their crafter square. So these stickers do have little sticky backs on them. At first I thought I could just stick them to the cone, but you're going to see later on I did end up having to hot glue them. They only stayed on for maybe a few minutes and then they started to pop off. So here you can see I'm just securing them in place with some hot glue. Hot glued some of the pearls on, and for a finishing touch I took the natural wood heart and just hot glued that to the top. And that is it for this simple DIY, but I think this one looks so beautiful. This definitely looks like something you would buy in a store, and I loved it so much I had to create 2 of them. This next DIY might be my favorite from this video. So you guys already know I love this sign. I showed it to you guys in my shop with me and my Dollar Tree haul, so I knew I was going to have to use it this year in a DIY, and I came up with a really fun and easy one. So in addition to the kissing booth sign from Dollar Tree, I also picked up 2 of these natural wood crates, and these can be found in the crafter square. We are going to be painting these and creating some faux floral boxes. I also picked up some of the craft sticks in the crafter square. This DIY, we're going to need 2 of them. This is going to be what holds up our kissing booth sign, and these are just great to always have on hand. I actually ran out anyway, so I did pick up a brand new pack. Now we're also going to be using these little ornaments here. So I found this pack of wood lips at Dollar Tree, and they have 3 different colors inside. So they have red, pink, and then they have these natural lips here. So here are the pink ones. I'm going to be using 3 of those to add to our sign, but I also wanted 3 lips in white to be painting these as well. And to paint everything, I'm just going to be using my favorite white matte spray paint. I just find that this is the easiest and quickest thing, but if you want to paint them by hand, of course you can use a chalk paint or acrylic paint. So after I gave everything one coat, I just let it dry completely, and here it is. and now we can get started assembling everything. So this is a really easy build. All you want to do is just take your first wood crate and just add some hot glue to the side, and then just add your second one. I am using the Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks here. You don't need to, but they are my absolute favorite. I'll be sure to link them down below. I just ordered them online. So after I glued the crates together, I added a popsicle stick to each side, and now I'm just going to be hot gluing my kissing booth sign on top of those popsicle sticks. We can add our wood lips. So you're going to notice there are 2 holes on top of the kissing booth sign where that string was. So I will be using 2 of the white lips to cover those up, and then the third one I'm just going to put on the bottom. And then for my pink lips, I'm just going to be adding those to the wood crates because they pop a little bit more against that white background. Now I'm going to be taking some of these foam floral blocks from Dollar Tree, and you can find these in the floral area, and I'm just going to be adding 2 of them to the bottom of my crates here. You can hot glue these in place, but I just decided to place mine in there. That way if I want to switch it out later on, it's really easy to remove. And now for my faux florals, I picked up some of the pink roses, white roses, and these little foam shiny hearts from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to be taking some wire cutters here to snip them all down. You can definitely use scissors for this part. It is a little bit harder, but with scissors, what I like to do is just kind of cut the plastic and then bend the wire inside back and forth until it breaks. But if you have wire cutters or wire snips, it's a little bit easier. Just arranging all of my florals into that foam block, and here's how it turned out. I love this DIY. I think it is so much fun. It's a really great pop of color. I love that spinning piece in the center. Guys will definitely have to let me know if you're going to give this one a try. Next up, we're making the cutest gnome. First item you're going to need is a pair of socks. So I'm going to be using these Valentine's Day socks today, and this material is super stretchy, which is going to be great for a sock gnome. And this is also the ankle variety of sock. So if you pick up these size socks, you'll be able to get 1 gnome out of the 2 of them. But if you go for the longer socks, the knee-high ones, that is what I have pictured here. And you can actually get 2 gnomes out of 1 pair. So I will leave that video linked down below if you want to see how to make those. And you're also going to need something for the beard. So I've never used this material before. This was a mop head that I found at Dollar Tree. They had a couple of different ones to choose from, but I really like the color of this one. And I've never made a mop beard before, so I was really excited to try it out. So now to get started, you're just going to have to take one of your socks and put that to the side. That is going to be for the hat later on, and our other sock is going to be for the body. So basically we just have to weigh down the bottom of the sock first for that body, and today I'm going to be using these poly pellets, but there are a lot of options that you have to weigh down your sock. If you're looking for something from Dollar Tree, you can try these little glass gemstones here, or even some of their smaller rocks. It's just something to give it a sturdy base. I usually have these poly pellets on hand because they are my favorite thing to use for this, so I'll leave them linked down below. I just picked them up from Amazon. And now that the bottom of my sock is weighed down, I'm just going to fill it with some polyfill. So if you don't have any polyfill on hand, another great item to look for at the Dollar Tree is just some cotton balls. You just need something to fill up that body, or you can even use the stuffing from an old pillow. And now I decided to fill mine up all the way to the top because I want my gnome to be pretty large. And now I just have to tie off the top of this. You can use a rubber band, an old hair tie, even some string, but I'm actually just going to go ahead and hot glue mine closed. The material on this sock was pretty thick, so it was easy to hot glue closed, but if you have a thinner sock, it might just be easier to tie the top with a rubber band. So now we have the base of our body, and now we have to attach the beard. So here's the mop removed from that packaging, and you have a couple of options with this. You could just attach the entire mop head to the top and keep everything intact, and this black plastic piece on the top here will just be covered up by the hat in the end, so it won't really be in the way. But if you do this, I do think that the beard is just a little bit too big for this size sock. So what I'm going to do is just split mine right in half. So you can see here the mop is actually kind of split in half already. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and just cut off one side of the mop. I did my best to try and be pretty neat with this and keep them all in a row. And then I just made sure everything was nice and even, and then just grabbed it at the top. And now I just want to bind them together. That way everything is very neat. So I'm just going to use a rubber band for this, but again, you could just use a hair tie or even some string or twine just to make sure all of those strands are tied together. Binding them together like this is just going to make it a lot easier when we attach it to our body. And now I'm just going to be putting a lot of hot glue on the top part of our sock here, and then just carefully pushing that beard into it. Now you can just place the body of the gnome to the side for a minute, as well as that other sock, because we are going to get started on the nose. So here I have some table tennis balls from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to need 2 of them for each gnome. So one of them is going to be for the hat, so that one I do not need to paint, but the one for the nose I do want to paint, just so it's not that bright white color, and I'm just going to warm it up a little bit. And this is completely optional, but a tip for it to make it a little bit easier to paint is you can just poke a toothpick through the bottom of it and just put it into a styrofoam base. That way it just makes it a little bit easier to paint around all of those curves. I just mixed some browns and oranges into my white chalk paint to achieve this color here, and once I had 1 coat of that on my table tennis ball, I just let it dry completely. So here it is all dry, and now we get to attach it to our gnome. So I'm just going to be putting a generous amount of hot glue onto that nose and placing it where I want it in the beard. Wanted to be sure to leave some beard behind the nose as well as on the sides of the nose, just to make it look a little bit more natural. Now you can grab that second sock that is going to be for the hat, as well as the second table tennis ball. So I'm just going to be putting that table tennis ball into the sock and putting it all the way at the top where the toes go, because I want this to be a little, almost like a pom-pom ball on top of the hat. It's just going to give it a really nice shape. So to secure it in there, I'm just going to be using some of this cotton twine that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, but anything will do just to secure this, like a rubber band or some twine. So now that I have the ball at the top of my hat, I'm just going to be placing a very small amount of polyfill just to help keep the hat a little bit more upright. That way it doesn't just flop over from the weight of the table tennis ball on top. So now you can just place your sock onto the gnome, but you want to make sure that the heel portion of the sock is on the back of the gnome. So after you slide it on, you're going to want to adjust it a little bit just to get it right. And I like to basically kind of cover half the nose with the hat and then leave the bottom half peeking out. I think that looks really cute. And you might want to hot glue your hat in place. I decided not to do that here, but if your hat is slipping, you might want to secure it with some hot glue. And now I'm just giving that beard a trim. So I like to cut up the sides just to taper it up a little bit and then make sure the bottom is nice and neat and kind of give it a curved shape. So here is the beard all trimmed, and now I'm going to give him some feet. So I found this craft kit at the Dollar Tree, and I thought that this heart would be perfect for some feet for our gnome. So anything will do for this. You can even get a piece of felt and just cut it into the shape of a heart, or if Dollar Tree has anything else in the shape of a heart, it would work just as well. So I just put some hot glue and place it on the bottom of the gnome, and it gives the appearance of 2 little feet peeking out. Now for the final step, we get to accessorize our gnome. So I went really simple. I just picked up this table scatter from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to hot glue one of these hearts to the top of the hat. You can really get creative. Dollar Tree has so many fun little mini accessories that would look really cute on the gnome, and you can just use them to really make it your own. And here's the final result. I'm obsessed with this gnome. I think he is so adorable and just perfect for Valentine's Day. This would be a really sweet gift to somebody if you know that they love gnomes, and it would be so special if they knew that you handmade it for them. I think I'm definitely going to have to make a couple more, and maybe even a little girl gnome to go with this one. So I picked up these 2 pickup trucks at Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square. So these ones are not just for Valentine's Day. They usually have these ones all year long, so hopefully they should be pretty easy to find. And now I just want to get started by spray painting them, and I'm going to be using this matte white spray paint. You can use any color you like, but I just thought white would be a nice backdrop for the hearts that we're going to be adding to the front. So here it is after it dried. I just did 1 coat on the front and on the back, and now I'm going to be taking this foam block here, and this is in the floral department at Dollar Tree, and we just have to trim this down a little bit. To cut through the foam block, I'm actually using the plastic pool noodle knife that you can find in the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be cutting off about 1 inch. And now I just want to trim this again, and I would say here I'm trimming off about 1/3, and I'm going to be left with a rectangle about this size. So now what I have to do is hot glue it to one of my pickup trucks, and then we're going to be adding our second pickup truck on top of it. So I did add a little bit of hot glue to my foam and my truck, and you do want to hold this in place for a few seconds until it sets. Now I'm just going to be adding some more hot glue on top of that foam, and then adding on my second truck. When you do this step though, you do want to work quickly. So after you put your second pickup truck on top, you want to stand it up before it has time to set. That way you can make sure everything is nice and even and all 4 tires are touching the ground. Now to turn this into a love truck, I'm going to be hot gluing some of these wood hearts onto the front of my truck. So these ones come in a pack from Dollar Tree. You get 3 different colors and a bunch in a pack. I've been using these non-stop for all of my crafts this season. So once I was happy with the arrangement, I just went ahead and secured everything down with some hot glue. Next, you just want to pick out your favorite faux florals from Dollar Tree. So I have a bunch of different ones here. You don't need a lot for this. You can just do one color and pick up one bunch of flowers. You can pretty much get away with just using 3 flowers if you just want to make a row of them in the back of your truck, or you can kind of add a few more to make it super full. Last step, I'm just going to add some of these wooden picks to the back of the truck. So they have gold, pink, and red in the pack, and I just picked out some red and pink ones, and I did just snap off the bottom just so it wouldn't be too long, and then I'm just inserting it into that foam floral block. Here's how it turned out. This DIY is so quick and easy, but I just love the end result, and the best part is you can customize this however you like, make it your own, paint it whatever color is your favorite to fit your decor style. For our next DIY, we're going to be giving this barn a little bit of a makeover. So to get started, I just want to very carefully peel up the top portion of the barn. So the little roof here, it does pop off pretty easily, but I want to make sure that I don't break it because I will be using it later on. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this to the side for now. Now, if you have any loose paper, just go ahead and peel it off. You don't have to take everything off. We're going to be covering it up, but we just want to make sure we get any loose pieces. So now you're going to need one of my free printables, and I created 3 different ones for this DIY. So this is my blog here. I'm going to leave it linked down below in the video description box. So when you head over to my blog, you just want to scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on free printables. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the 3 different designs for this DIY. The first one, it just says P.S. I love you. The second one has the word love with an arrow going through it. And the third design is just a pink background with a lot of white hearts. So any of those will work for this DIY. So you can just go ahead and print out your favorite one. And I do suggest printing it out on cardstock. That way it covers up the image on the front of the barn, and it's just going to be a little bit sturdier. I'm going to be using the P.S. I love you one, so I went ahead, printed that out on cardstock, and now I'm just going to place my barn over the image and just trace it out with pencil. That way I can go ahead and just cut out my barn. When you're cutting this out, don't worry too much about the top part because we're going to be covering that up with that wood piece for the roof, but just make sure the sides are nice and even. My favorite way to attach the cardstock to the barn is just using a glue stick. I find that this gives it a nice smooth surface. You just want to make sure you get glue on all of those edges and then just smooth it down. But it really does just kind of give it a nice even appearance. Sometimes when you work with Mod Podge, it wrinkles it a little bit, so I like to use a glue stick for crafts like this. And now I'm going to go ahead and put some hot glue onto that barn piece and add it back on top. Now you might notice that there is a small blank area on the bottom, and I did leave that open. That way we can add some embellishments. So I'm going to be adding more of those wood hearts from Dollar Tree. I just wanted to go with one natural one here, but I think the pink ones would also look great. And you can even add 3 different ones in a row, or maybe play around with some different sizes, but this is the one I went with here. Here is a closer look at how mine turned out, but the other great thing about this DIY is you can print out any image you like on cardstock, so even if you have a photo you want to add in here, it's a really fun DIY that you can customize any way you like. Next up is a 2-minute DIY. It would not be a DIY video from me if there was not at least 1 free printable, or in this case 2. So I created these free printables for you guys. You can find them on my blog. I'm going to leave the link for that down below in the video description box. So you can just head over to my blog and you will scroll all the way to the bottom and you will see the links to print these out. Now I did print these out on cardstock, but you can also use regular paper. I just think cardstock looks a little bit nicer and it's nice and sturdy. And these are sized perfectly for this frame from Dollar Tree. But on my website, you can also just download these and resize them to any size you need. When you print these out, you will see that there is a faint black line, and you can go ahead and just cut right on that line. And now to frame these, I do like to frame them above the glass. That way it just avoids the glare and it looks more like an art print than a framed photo. So I just went ahead and taped it to the glass, and now I'm going to go ahead and just put it right back into that frame, and that is it. Like I said, this is a 2-minute DIY. It could not get easier, but it is a fun and inexpensive way just to add a pop of holiday decor. This next one is so easy, it's hard to call it a DIY, it's more just a styling tip. So if you saw this beautiful wood bead heart at Dollar Tree, but you weren't really sure what to do with it, I'm going to show you a really easy way to style it for Valentine's Day. One can be found in the Valentine's Day area, but I do know that it is selling out really quickly, so I wanted to show you something else you can use from Dollar Tree. So Dollar Tree does have this round one as well, but this one is located in the crafter square. And I did test it out. You can easily bend it. I didn't want to bend this one out of shape too much because I actually am going to be using this one in a spring DIY, but it can be done. So if you can find the heart one, go ahead and pick up the round one from the crafter square and just bend it into shape. Now, in addition to the heart, I did pick up these 2 different ribbons from Dollar Tree, but both of these I actually found in the faux floral area. And the first one is just a really sheer light pink, and the second one is this lace ribbon, but it does have a crochet feel to it. And all I did was just cut 2 extra long pieces, and I'm just going to be tying it on one end here, and that way when I kind of just lay it on its flat side, it just has a really pretty draping effect, and it just comes down the side. And I think that this one styles so nicely with those free printables. So you guys might remember I picked up this jumbo craft heart and I told you I had an idea for it. And the idea was actually inspired by this DIY that I did last year. These yarn hearts were one of your favorite DIYs last year. So many of you guys told me how much you loved this craft. So I had an idea this year when I saw this large foam heart that we could basically recreate this craft, but just supersize it this year and kind of make it 3D, since these foam hearts are a bit bigger than those flat hearts that I used last year. So all you have to do is just pick up one of these foam hearts from Dollar Tree and one of their balls of yarn. So this is the chenille yarn. It's that nice, really soft yarn. They have it in a few different colors. I picked it up in pink as well as white. And all you have to do for this craft is just hold a piece of the yarn in the center of the heart and then just start to wrap it around all over the place. You wrap it around a few times, it's going to hold that starting piece in place, so you don't need to glue it down or anything. And you just want to make sure that you're kind of just varying up the way you wrap it and going in all different directions just to give it more texture and just to kind of make it look a little bit more visually interesting. Want to just make sure that you're covering up all of that foam so none of it is visible. And it did end up taking the entire ball of yarn. So now to finish it off, I'm just taking that small strand and just tucking it underneath a few of those other ones and then trimming it off. That way I don't need to glue it, it will just stay in place from the pressure. And I loved that one so much that I decided to grab another foam heart and do the craft again with the white yarn this time. Now you might be wondering, how long does it take to wrap this entire heart with the full ball of yarn? And honestly, it's not that bad. I would say each one of these took around 10 minutes from start to finish, but if you're doing a bunch of them, just put on a fun Valentine's Day movie and it will be done before you know it. Here is my second one all done, and I'm just tucking that last piece under a few of those strands. And I actually ended up making 4 in total because I thought it would be so fun to kind of display them all in this bowl here. They just look so vibrant and it really does just put a smile on my face. But if you just want to make one, I think this is so cute to put out by a pillow. It kind of just adds a fun Valentine's Day accent to it. But either way, you can't go wrong with these really fun, adorable jumbo yarn hearts. This next one is another one of my favorites because you only need 3 items and some scissors. So all you want to do is start off with this heart frame from the Dollar Tree. Now this one's actually in their floral area, not in the Valentine's Day area, so be sure to check over there. But if you can't find it, this is another option. So this is just a Valentine's Day decoration. This one does have a plastic frame on the inside, so if you wanted to use it for this craft, you would just have to remove the tinsel, but I would really recommend the wire smaller one here if you can find it, just because we're going to be kind of pulling and tugging a little bit, and the wire frame is just a bit sturdier. And the second item you were going to need is this pink fleece baby blanket from Dollar Tree. We're actually going to be needing 2 of these, and you can just find these in the baby area. They tend to have these all year long. So to get started, I'm just going to go ahead and take off the tag from my blanket and then just open it up all the way. And then I'm going to be folding it in half and then folding it one more time. So basically just folding it into quarters here. And now I'm going to take my scissors and just cut along the one edge because I just want to cut this in half. We're going to need to cut this blanket into long strips in order to tie them to our wreath frame, and I'm just going to be showing you the easiest way that I found to do that. So once I had it cut in half, I had 4 layers, and now I'm just going to take my scissors and start to cut all the way up to the top to make long strips. I'm cutting the strips so they are about 2 inches thick. Now, once I had these cut, you're going to see the bottom part here was kind of curved because it was the edge of the blanket. So I am going to go ahead and just trim those off because I do want these to have more of a rectangle shape. I wanted to show you an easier way to cut it. So I do have a self-healing mat here. So you do want to do it on a surface that is okay to be kind of cut on. But this is the round rotary cutter from Dollar Tree. And it's not as good as maybe some of the other ones, but it does cut through this fabric really nicely. I've never had any issue with it. Now I did have to kind of split my fabric in half. So that way I'm only cutting 2 strips at a time instead of 4. But this was a lot easier to work with than my scissors, and I did get more precise cuts. So if you're at Dollar Tree and you see it, you might want to pick it up in the crafter square. So now, since I did divide my fabric in half, that way I can cut it with the rotary cutter, I'm just going to go ahead and cut the rest of my strips. So here is one full blanket with all of the strips cut, and these ended up being about 2 inches wide by 15 inches long. Now it's okay if they're not all exactly the same. You're not going to be able to tell in the final heart. So as long as they're roughly the same size, you'll be good. So now to attach them to the heart, I'm going to start at the top here and just work on 1/2 first. And all you want to do is just put your fabric piece underneath your heart. And you will see here, I am trimming the edges, and that's just because the blanket did have kind of a finishing blanket stitch running around the edge. You can cut it off if you want to or leave it. It's not that big of a deal. So I did go ahead and just trim it though. But now I'm just going to fold my fabric in half right around the heart, and then I'm going to put a knot. So you can kind of see it here. I'm going to leave it in normal speed. So after I just made sure it was even on both sides, I'm just going to loop it around and pull it through to just make a knot, and then just kind of pull it so it's nice and snug. And you just want to repeat those same steps for all of your fabric pieces. Now this one is really easy, but it does take a little bit of time. So this is another DIY that you might want to pop on a fun movie for. That's what I did here. I just had a fun movie playing in the background as I kind of sat here and just put on all of my fabric pieces. It didn't take too long though. I would say maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So here I was after I finished up with my first blanket. So all of my strips that I had cut before, this is them on the heart. It only gets you to half of a wreath. So all of these strips here is my second blanket that I just cut off camera. So now I'm going to go ahead and just attach all of those. So you do need both blankets to fill up the entire heart, but here it is. So it's only 3 items and you make this beautiful, amazing heart wreath. I think it is so pretty. This would look really cute hanging on a door, or I just have it displayed here. I will probably end up hanging it up, but I think it looks really sweet just like this as well. Next, I'm going to be sharing a really easy way to decorate these wood pieces. So you might see these at Dollar Tree and not really know what to do with them. They have a bunch of different plain ones. This is the love sign here. And to get started, I just like to give it a nice base coat of paint, and you can definitely paint it by hand, but I'm just going to be spray painting it because for me, that is the easiest option, and I like how it just kind of gives it a nice even coat. I decided to go with a light pink color, but I think white and red would also work perfectly. So now we are ready to decorate. So I'm going to be using these wood hearts from Dollar Tree. You get 24 of them in a pack, and you have 3 different colors and multiple sizes. So all you want to do is just kind of take a bunch of them out of the pack, lay them around, and figure out what looks good to you. So I was pretty happy with this arrangement. So now I'm just going to go ahead with my hot glue gun and secure them all in place. Next, I took one of the larger pink hearts from the pack and one of the smaller natural ones, and I'm just going to be gluing them together because I wanted to add them to the center of my love sign. Now, I wanted to use fishing line so it can kind of look invisible, but I couldn't find any, so we're just going to be using some twine today. I had the two hearts glued together. I just flipped my sign over, and I'm going to be adding some hot glue to the back along with a small piece of twine. Now, I did hold it in place until it was dry, and you do want to pull it nice and tight, and then you can go ahead and just trim off the edges. Now you just want to add some hot glue to your heart and add it to the twine. Now, if you don't want this to kind of be mobile, if you don't want it to swing a little bit and move around, you can definitely just hot glue this to a toothpick and then hot glue it to the back as well. That way it wouldn't move and it would be pretty invisible if you glue it on the bottom. But I thought it was fun that it can kind of swing back and forth a little bit. And here's a closer look at how it turned out. This next DIY only takes 2 minutes and you only need 2 items. So the only thing you have to pick up from Dollar Tree are these glass frames. So these are the floating frames and I think that they are just so beautiful. And the only other thing you're going to need is this free printable. So you can find this on my blog. I'm going to leave it linked down below. With these 4 different designs and I'm going to show you just kind of a fun way to style them. But again, I'll leave this link down below and you can just head on over to my blog and print it out. I did decide to print it out on cardstock, but you can also just use regular paper as well. So this one here that says love is a light pink color in the background. So if you want to kind of cut the rest out, I would say this is a good one to cut out first because you can kind of use it as a guide to cut out the rest because it is the perfect size to fit into these floating frames. So that's what I did with the candy hearts as well as the love one. But for these two here, I had a different idea. So the one here just says I love you and it kind of looks like a love note. So I thought it would be fun to kind of just rip the edges of it and then I just did the hearts to match. It would just give it a really fun vintage look and it kind of looks like a handwritten love note. It just kind of had a romantic feel to it. So now I'm just going to open up these frames, and if you haven't seen them before, the back kickstand just pops right out, and then you can open up the tabs to take out the 2 glass pieces. Now my only issue with these frames is when you take off the paper insert, it is kind of taped pretty tightly with some double-sided tape to the glass, but it's okay. As long as you rip off that paper, you can kind of use it to your advantage because you can just re-stick your photo right to that sticky tape because it's still plenty sticky, trust me. Now you can just put on your second piece of glass and put it back into the frame, close up the tabs, and then you can just put the kickstand back in place. Idea would definitely work and I think be even better if you have a handwritten love note from somebody special or if you just wanted to write one to somebody. This is a really great way to display it. It looks so beautiful how it's just kind of suspended in the glass in the frame and it just has such a romantic feel to it. So I did want to show you how both versions look though. So here's the first one with the kind of hand ripped love note and the hearts in the background, and then next I'm going to show you the 2 other photos that I kind of just cut out more traditionally. But either way, I think it looks really sweet, and these would also be great to pair with a couple's photo in black and white and then maybe a little handwritten love note. You guys might remember I told you I was so excited to find this Valentine's Day tree at Dollar Tree, but I hadn't found the ornaments. Well, I did end up finding them, thank goodness, and I just wanted to show you a really easy way to kind of style it with a mini DIY. So in the box photo, they do have these ornaments here, and these are the ones I found at Dollar Tree. However, I didn't find the little rose ones that are pictured in the photo, but they did have some other roses at Dollar Tree that you can definitely just buy and kind of make work for this one. But I only picked up the hearts. So they had them in the 3 different colors. They had the really kind of fuchsia pink, the traditional red, and then this light pink here. So when you pop it out of the box, you're going to have your tree and then this little stand here, so you can just pop those in place. Then you just want to put it on your table and start to pull down all of the branches. It was a little sparse, but don't worry, we're going to be filling it up with a lot of ornaments, so it will definitely look full at the end. For now, I'm just going to be adding these 2 packs of ornaments, and then we're going to be adding a few more items. So after I had my hearts on, I decided to grab this light pink ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I just made a bunch of bows to kind of go all throughout my tree. Next, I grabbed this heart ribbon and I cut a nice long piece, and I'm just going to wrap it around my tree to kind of use as garland. also add a large bow up top to act as my tree topper. So now for our mini DIY, I'm starting with a piece of red felt and I'm just going to be folding it in half and then in half again so I have quarters. Now I'm going to take my scissors and just trim off the edge because I want to be left with more of a square. Now I'm going to take my scissors again and just go ahead and cut the edges so they have more of a scalloped detail. Now I'm going to open it up and this is what I'm left with. Now I'm going to take my scissors and just go ahead and just cut on that line in the center until I get to the middle. Then I'll fold it in half one more time and cut a half circle. And this is just going to create a small area for the trunk of our tree. So now to kind of decorate our tree skirt, I'm just going to take some pink felt, fold it in half and cut out some hearts. This is a really simple design, but you can get really creative here and add a ton of embellishments. Maybe some roses or even some pearls would be really pretty. So whatever you can think of, I think would be so fun on this tree skirt. And then once you are happy with your design, you can just hot glue everything in place. And now our Valentine's Day tree has a mini tree skirt. I think I'm definitely going to go ahead and add some more embellishments. I think it looks fun just like this, but I'm thinking some pearls would be really cute. For our next DIY, I'm going to be using some of these wood hearts from Dollar Tree as well as one of their round wood bead wreaths. So this is not the Valentine's Day one, this is just the regular crafter square one. You can find this one all year long at Dollar Tree, and they actually do have the heart version for Valentine's Day, but this one is a little bit easier to find, and since we're just going to be using the beads, it doesn't matter which shape you get. The first step of this DIY is going to be painting everything. So I picked out 3 of my hearts and I'm just going to share with you the colors I'm going to be using today for painting. So the first is this candy pink spray paint. I'm also going to be using a matte white spray paint as well as this apple red spray paint. I'm going to be painting the beads as well as the wood heart. So the first step is just to get the beads off of the wreath, and the easiest way to do this is just to get a pair of wire snips and just go ahead and cut that center wire. Now you're going to have all of your beads, and I did count out 45 beads. Want to paint 15 beads in each color. Now I'm just going to go ahead and prep everything for painting, and this is actually how I like to paint my wood beads. It is, in my opinion, the easiest and best way to paint wood beads. I like to add my beads to a metal wire. You can actually just reuse the wire that the beads come on, the wreath wire. All you have to do is just trim it down and straighten it out. And then I take a small cardboard box and I just cut some notches in the side, and then I just insert that wire into the notch. That way I can turn it while I'm spray painting it and get even coverage. I actually have a short video on this exact process that I will leave linked down below. So I went ahead and spray painted 1 heart white, 1 pink, and 1 red, as well as 15 beads white, 15 beads red, and 15 beads pink. So now everything is dry and we are ready to get started with our wood bead garland. And I'm going to be using some twine from Dollar Tree for this. So to get started though, I did want to make my tassel, that way we can have all of our parts and then assemble them all at once. So to make a tassel, it is super easy. You just want to wrap a bunch of twine around your 4 fingers and then just trim off a smaller piece of twine and insert it into that loop. Then I tie a knot on top. Now this next step is optional, but I think it gives it a nice touch for Valentine's Day. I'm just going to be using some of this lace ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be putting it right over the top of my tassel. Once I have everything smoothed down, I'm going to go ahead and take my twine again and just wrap some twine right around the head of the tassel to bind everything together. Once it is secure, you can go ahead, trim it off, and then just tie that into a knot and trim those extra ends. Now that everything is bound together, you want to go ahead and just trim those bottom loops so it starts to look more like a tassel. And now the last step is just pulling everything straight and even and making sure that the bottom is neat. So I like to just give everything an even trim. Now everything is prepped so we can start assembling our wood bead garland. I'm going to be taking my 3 hearts and just attaching them to each other. I wanted to give it the look of kind of the hearts being stacked on one another. To attach them, I'm just going to be using hot glue. So now I can get my twine, and I want to cut a piece of twine that's going to be a little bit longer than my wood bead garland. It's always better to have it a little bit longer than too short and then have to go back and redo it. So once I had my twine cut, I just tied one end to my hearts, and now I can get started with that same pattern with my beads. So I'm going to be doing red, white, and pink until I'm all out of beads. And this step here really is so helpful. Do yourself a favor and put some tape on the end of your twine every time I start off not putting tape on, and then after a bead or two I get so frustrated with the twine starting to fray that I always have to grab my tape. So just save yourself the aggravation and start with a piece of tape on the end. It makes the whole process so much easier. Once all of my beads were on my twine, I took my tassel and I just put the twine through the head of the tassel, and now all I'm going to be doing is just knotting it together here, but you just want to pull it as tight as possible. That way you don't have any gaps in your would-be garland. A closer look at how it turned out. I was originally just going to be using white and pink for this DIY because those are two of my favorite colors, but I decided to add in the red for a fun pop of color. We're going to be creating a garland, and for my garland it's not too long, the area where I have to hang it, so I'm only going to be using 5 of my hearts, and I'm going to save the other 3 for a different DIY. So 2 of these I am going to be spray painting white, so I want to get started on that so they have time to dry. And I'm just going to be using that same matte white spray paint that I used before. And for the other 3 hearts, I'm actually going to be wrapping them in yarn. So this is the pink chenille yarn from Dollar Tree, and this is very similar to the craft that we did in our last video. This craft here, you guys absolutely loved, and I'm so happy because I loved it too. So it was so great to hear all of the positive feedback. So if you saw that video, you already know the process, but just in case you didn't, all you have to do is just take your yarn, hold a piece in the center of the heart, and then just start to wrap that yarn around the heart. You want to wrap it around the starting piece a few times just to hold it in place. And when you get to the end, you can just go ahead and trim it off, and then take the end and just tuck it under a few pieces of yarn to hold it in place. And now I'm going to repeat that same process for my other 2 hearts. So here's everything all done and ready to go. So now we can go ahead and just take our twine and start to make our garland. So before we do that though, we do have to attach the little ties that come with the hearts onto them. And for these ones here, the ones that we just painted, it's super easy. They have a pre-drilled hole, so you can just go ahead and add on your little tie. For these ones here, it's a little bit trickier, but it is still pretty easy to just carefully slide that small tie underneath a few pieces of yarn and then just pull it up to the top and tie it into a knot. Next, cut your twine for however long you want your garland to be. And I did just want to show you, I like to make loops on the end of my garland whenever I make one. And I did get a request last time I showed this to do it a little bit slower so you guys can see it in detail. So all I do is just take the end of my twine and I basically fold it over about 2 inches, make a loop, and then kind of just twist it around and pull it through into a knot. That way it creates this nice little loop on top, and that way it just makes it so much easier when you want to hang it up. And now I'm just going to add my hearts onto my twine. The final step is just going to be taking that same lace ribbon from Dollar Tree that I showed you guys before and just cutting it into small pieces and tying it to a bow in between each one of the hearts. I like to leave the bow a little bit looser, that way I can easily slide it back and forth, so when I hang up my garland I can make sure everything is in the right spot. And here is how it turned out. Next DIY, we are going to be creating this adorable heart pillow. So to get started, I'm actually going to be using 2 of these bath mats from Dollar Tree. They actually work really good to create a no-sew pillow. So I always like to just throw mine in the washing machine first, so this is how they turned out. And I'm actually going to be using the bottom of the mat as the outside of my pillow. I just thought it looked a little bit more smooth and seamless. I also want to create some tassels using this cotton twine from Dollar Tree. These tassels are really easy to create. All you need to do is take your twine and start to wrap it around your 4 fingers. You're going to wrap it around a bunch of times just like this, then go ahead and just trim it off. Now you need to cut a small piece of twine and just feed that into the middle of your loops. Now you can carefully slide it off your hand and create some knots up top just to secure everything in place. Then I like to pull it straight and we're going to cut directly underneath that knot. Now we're just going to turn everything over and hide that knot in the center center of the head of our tassel. Once you have everything where you like it, you can go ahead and just grab some more twine and start to wrap it around your tassel. This will create the head and secure it in place with some knots. Now just trim off any extra string, and then you can just start to pull the bottom strands of your tassel straight. That way you can go ahead and just trim the bottom to make sure that everything is even and looking good. After you make your first tassel, it becomes so easy and effortless. So now you want to go ahead and just make 3 more, so you have 4 tassels in total. Next, I'm going to cut a piece of my twine here and just insert it into the center of my tassel. This is how we are going to attach the tassel to our pillow. I just used a pencil here to make the hole a little bit easier to feed the string into. And now we can just create a knot on top. I like to do 2 or 3. And now you're going to have these 2 extra long strings on top, and this is how we are going to glue it into our pillow. Grab your first bath mat, and you want to make sure that the bottom is actually facing up, since this will be the outside of our pillow. And I'm going to take my tassel and I'm actually going to glue it facing inward. It's going to make sense when you see it. So I'm just going to be using some hot glue here, and I will be attaching it into the corner. And I am using my Gorilla Hot Glue sticks for this. You can absolutely sew this pillow as well, but I wanted to do a really simple no-sew pillow, and the hot glue does hold this fabric together really well, especially the Gorilla Hot Glue sticks, and I will be sure to link those down below. These bath mat pillows from Dollar Tree are so fun to create, and I think I've made one for almost every holiday now. This is a great base, so all you have to do is just the same exact construction here, and then add any type of embellishment that you like to the front. So of course today we are making one for Valentine's Day, but it's also really easy to make one for Christmas and Halloween, even for St. Patrick's Day. It's just a really fun DIY that only takes a little bit of time and not too many items, so I do really enjoy making these. Once I had all 4 of my tassels glued in place, I just took my second bath mat and started to hot glue that on top. I'm just working in small sections here, and then I'm just squeezing my fabric together. Of course, you want to be careful here, but you really only have to hold it in place for a few seconds, and it is pretty secure. I'm just working my way around the pillow right now, but I will be sure to stop when I get to my last side, because I do want to flip my pillow so it is facing the correct way. So right now we are constructing it inside out, and then once I close up my third side here, I'm going to go ahead and just flip it the correct way. Here is how it was looking after I had all 3 of those sides connected, and now I'm going to go ahead and just start to flip it the correct way out and make sure that I pull all of my corners out very carefully, because I do have those tassels attached. When I glue my final side together, I will be just folding in that edge. That way it has a finished look to it. And I'm just going to be using my hot glue to secure it in place. I'm not going to glue it all the way yet though, because we do still have to fill our pillow. But before we fill it, I do want to add the decoration on top first. That way it's a little bit easier to attach. When it comes to decorating your pillow, Dollar Tree has so many options. I decided to go with these felt hearts because I thought that they were just so beautiful, and I love the little laser cutouts on them. I played around with the placement for a little bit until I was finally happy with the design, and then once I was sure how I wanted my hearts to lie on the pillow, I just hot glued them into place. And again, you can absolutely just sew these instead of gluing them, but my pillow is just going to be on my entryway bench. It's not going to be used too often. It's pretty much just going to be for decorative use only, so for me, the hot glue works perfectly. Now that the design is finished, I'm going to go ahead, fill up my pillow with some polyfill stuffing, and then we can finish our pillow by just hot gluing it closed. I will also leave a link down below for polyfill. I usually just pick mine up from Amazon or Walmart. They usually have a good price on it. I like to get a really big bag or a box of it if I'm going to be using a lot of it. That way it's just a little bit more cost effective. Now I'm going to go ahead and just hot glue my pillow closed. Just hold it closed for a few seconds, and that is it. You are done. Here's a closer look at how this pillow turned out. I think that this DIY is just so much fun and has such a sweet look to it. For this next DIY, I'm going to be making over this XOXO sign from the Dollar Tree. So you guys might remember that I did actually transform one of these in a previous video, but I really love this sign and I had another really fun idea for it. So to get started, I did just cut the string in the back because this sign does stand up on its own and that's how I'm going to be using it today. So to start off, I am going to be spray painting the top portion with one coat of this ultra matte white spray paint. You can also just hand paint it, but you guys know that I do love to spray paint whenever I can. And now, while that's drying, I'm going to get started on my stickers. So I picked up these stickers at the Dollar Tree, and I really loved the lip stickers in the center there. They actually do sell these already painted if you can find them. My Dollar Tree was sold out, so I did just get the natural ones, and I'm going to be painting them right now. I actually decided just to spray paint them just to make it really easy. So to do that, I'm just going to be transferring all 5 of those lip stickers onto the outer package of the stickers. That way I can just spray paint them really easily. So here is them when they were all painted. So here is my XOXO sign with that matte white spray paint. And then all 5 of my lip stickers, I just did one quick coat of red spray paint and it worked out really well. So you'll see on the back there is that glue dot sticker, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that. The reason is because you can kind of see it peeking through the center of the lips, and I just think it kind of ruins the effect a little bit, so it peels off really easily. So now I'm just going to kind of decide where I want to place them. So I thought it would be kind of cute just to have red lips all over this XOXO sign, like somebody just planted a whole bunch of kisses on it. So I'm just kind of getting them mapped out where I want them, and then once I was happy with the placement, I just secured them on with some hot glue. This whole DIY came together so quickly, and I already had the spray paint on hand. So for $2, I think that this sign looks so good. It feels like something you would pick up in a Home Goods, and it would definitely cost a lot more than $2 if you found it in one of those stores. I think that this one is just really cute, and you could of course switch up the colors to suit your color palette. This next DIY, I'm going to be starting with this wood heart sign from the Dollar Tree. So to get started, I'm just going to go ahead and remove that string. I'm not going to need it because I'm actually going to be transforming this sign into a self-standing decoration. So now I just want to cover up those holes. So to do that, I'm just going to be using some of the lightweight spackling from the Dollar Tree. Once I let it dry completely, I just took a sanding block and just made sure to sand that surface completely flat. Now I'm going to get started on painting my heart. So I'm going to be using my favorite chalk paint. This is the one that I use all the time. I'll leave it linked down below. It's just from Amazon, but it really is my favorite. And I'm just going to be painting the middle portion and the bottom of the heart in a solid coat of the white paint. Then I'm going to take that same white paint, but I am going to be mixing in a little bit of this dark pink color just to create a really pretty light shade of pink, and I'm going to use that for the other 2 portions of the heart. I did just want to make sure though to leave those supports in the back the natural color. I just really liked the look of it peeking through, and it added a little bit of contrast. Let it dry completely, and now the final step is just to add some supports, that way it can stand up all on its own. So to do that, I'm just going to be using some of the tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. I'm going to need 4 in total. So I'm basically just going to have the heart kind of leaning on its side, but it needs a little bit of substance in the back just to hold it up. So I'm going to be gluing 2 of those tumbling tower blocks together, and then I'm just going to be gluing them to the heart. When you're gluing them in place, it does help just to kind of put the heart on a little bit of a diagonal. If you kind of just lean it back just a tiny bit while you're gluing those supports in place, it does help it stand up a lot better. So now I'm just going to repeat those same steps for my other support on the back of the heart. Now this heart will be able to stand up all on its own wherever you place it. And here is the final result. I love this one. This is one of my favorite color combinations. I really love pink and white together. I think it's just so pretty. But again, if this is not your favorite color pattern, you can always just switch this up and just kind of customize it to however you like. Dollar Tree sells these art canvases in their crafter square, and I'm going to be using 3 of them to create a little art display of 3 different hearts. So our first one is going to be the easiest. All you need for this one is one of these felt hearts from this pack, and I'm just going to attach it to my first canvas with some hot glue. I'll add a little bit to the back and then just glue it to the center of my canvas. Each canvas is going to have a unique heart, but we do want them to be roughly the same size. So I'm just going to take another felt heart and just trace the shape of it onto a piece of paper. That way I can create a template for my next two canvases. So I'm just going to use it here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to be about the same size. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim out my paper to be roughly the same size as our felt heart here. And then you will see I did want it to make sure that it was a perfect heart. So I am going to go ahead and just fold it in half and make sure to trim off any excess on the side. For my next canvas, I'm actually going to be using the felt heart stickers from Dollar Tree, but there are a lot of different options. Dollar Tree also has some small wooden hearts that would be perfect for this DIY. They also have some mini felt ones that have really fun designs, so there are some other options. I'm just going to take my paper heart and line it up into the center of my canvas and then just trace the outline very lightly with a pencil. That way I kind of have a rough shape to work with when I'm adding my stickers. So these are the felt heart stickers from Dollar Tree. You get a ton of them in a pack. All you have to do is just peel off the backing and add it to your canvas. This one is also really easy. Started by just adding my stickers to the outline of the heart. That way I could get the approximate shape of it, and then I kind of just started to fill it in with different colored hearts. If you're not sure where you want your hearts to lie, just play around with the placement before taking the paper backing off. That way you can kind of have a rough idea of where everything should go, and then once you're happy with your design, then you can go ahead, remove the paper backing, and put your sticker onto your canvas. There were a few areas where you could see the pencil mark that I had left, so I did take my eraser and just carefully erase those lines. Now for my last heart, I'm just repeating that same process of tracing the heart outline onto my canvas, and then I'm just going to take some Mod Podge and start to paint it into that heart shape. We're going to be adding some glitter to this one. Adding the Mod Podge to your canvas, you want to kind of work quickly. That way your Mod Podge does not have a chance to dry on you before you add your glitter. If that is a problem, just work in sections. That makes it a lot easier. So just add your Mod Podge and then your glitter to one area and then work on another part of the heart. I decided to do the whole heart at once. There were some areas that were a little bit patchy, so I did have to go in and just add a little bit more Mod Podge and then add more glitter on top. Another idea that I think would be so beautiful would be to add little rhinestones or gemstones to a heart. That would take a little bit more time, but I think it would be so pretty. And here is how my last heart turned out, and here's a closer look at all three of them together. I love this DIY. I think it's really fun, it's simple, and the possibilities are endless. This next DIY, you want to grab one of the glass vases from Dollar Tree and one of their glass candle holders. So we're going to be attaching these two together to create an elevated vase. And for this, I like to use both hot glue and E6000. You definitely want to use something like E6000 for that really permanent hold. I just like to use a little bit of hot glue as well for that quick term hold while the E6000 is fully drying overnight. Now that we created these really simple elevated vases, I want to show you a fun way to style them for Valentine's Day. Grab some of these heart candies from Dollar Tree and just start to fill the bottom of your vase. Then go ahead and add a flameless candle, and then finally just pick up some ribbon from Dollar Tree and wrap it around the bottom to create a really cute bow. I use these elevated vases pretty much for every holiday or get together that I have at my house. I like to add flowers to them or flameless candles. They're just so versatile. Next up, we are going to be creating a garland using these wood hearts from Dollar Tree. This DIY is so simple. All you need is a pack of these hearts. They also have some different shapes that you can go with. I thought that this one was really cute. And just some paint of your choosing. I'm using acrylic paint here in the colors white, pink, and gray. So the white is just going to be for mixing. I kind of wanted to go with a really fun rustic look. So I went ahead and just painted 3 of my hearts white first. Then I started to layer in some pink. And when I was brushing it through, I kind of wanted to have a little bit of a marbled look to it. So I didn't brush it all the way through. I wanted you to be able to see those different colors and those paint strokes. I let them dry fully, and then I just added the twine that comes in that pack to each one. Then I'm just going to go ahead and just string these on a longer piece of twine. You can always find twine at Dollar Tree in their crafter square. And here is how it turned out. So simple, but really fun, and you can customize it with any color that you like. For our next DIY, we are going to be creating another elevated vase, but for this one, we are also going to be painting it. You can use any color you like. I'm going to be going with this blush pink color. And every spray paint that I'm using in today's video, I will leave a link down below in the video description box, as long as I can find a link for it. Now I'm just going to grab some painter's tape and create a really simple design. But get creative here, paint this however you like. You can even make a nice diagonal line. You could add some polka dots instead if you have some little circle stickers. There are so many different options here. I decided to just create a smaller line up top, and then I'm going to be painting the bottom of my vase one solid pink color. I wanted it to kind of still be see-through. That way when you add flowers, you could still see the stems of them, but I thought it'd be fun to add a little bit of pink as well. I'm also going to be painting my candle holder that same pink color. So here is how everything turned out, and this is one of my favorite things to do ever. Peel off that tape after you paint something. It is just so satisfying to see that nice crisp line. And now we can go ahead and just attach these two together. And to do this, I will be using my E6000 and hot glue again. So of course we want to use that E6000 for the permanent holds. The hot glue is optional, but I do like it because it does hold it in place while that E6000 is drying. And you do want to let this rest overnight while that E6000 is fully curing. So now we can add some really fun little decorative elements. I'm going to keep it simple here and just go with some twine. I kind of wanted it to have that neutral Valentine's Day look to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap my twine around my vase a few times and then just tie it into a bow in the front. And then Dollar Tree does sell some of these wood heart stickers. These are great. And since we are going for that more natural rustic look, I thought it would be good just to add a natural heart to the center here. And they do have a little sticker on the back, but it is better just to hot glue it in place so it doesn't pop off. Just add some real flowers or some faux florals from Dollar Tree. That's what I did here. And you can even add a flameless candle to this one. Either way, it looks adorable. I was so excited when I found these flour sack towels at Dollar Tree this year, and I knew immediately what I wanted to do with them. So we are going to be creating some really easy pillows from these towels here. It is so inexpensive, but the print is beautiful and these colors are so vibrant. So to get started, I'm just going to unfold my towel and then just fold it in half. I do like to remove the tag on the inside, but that is completely optional. But it does rip out pretty easily. So the first thing I'm going to do once I have it folded in half is just take my iron and make sure I flatten those lines out just to make sure everything is as smooth as possible. Now I'm actually going to reverse fold it so that the correct image is facing each other, because we are going to be sewing these and I want to make sure to just sew it inside out first. That way it has a nice and finished edge. And I will be sewing all four sides, even the top, even though it is attached already, because I want it to match the other sides, but I will be leaving a small 4-inch gap on the bottom just to flip it right side out and fill it with polyfill. So right here you can say I'm stitching the top portion, but I did not leave too much of a seam allowance since it is already connected. It's basically just to make it match the other sides. So now I'm just going to go ahead and flip it right side out. And then once I did do this, I noticed that it did get a little wrinkled up. So I did actually just take my iron out one more time because I wanted to make sure it was pressed nice and crisp before I stuffed it with polyfill. You can also sew this by hand or just use a no-sew pillow making method and use hot glue to close the ends. You guys know I have done that a bunch of times on this channel, and I love to do a no-sew pillow as well. So now I just have this small gap here, and I am going to just sew that closed by hand, and then we will be done with these pillows. I think that these are so fun. The gnome print might be my favorite because I love those pops of color on the side. The stripes are just so cute, but I do love this bicycle as well. I think it's really fun. And that is everything for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed these 22 Valentine's Day Dollar Tree DIYs. If you did and you are new here, please do consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you join us. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with a friend. I really appreciate it. And come on back very soon because I will be releasing brand new Valentine's Day Dollar Tree DIYs. To subscribe to my channel, you can just click on my picture right here. Thank you so much for watching.